Hey guys, Mark here with another edition of Weaponized Truth. I've recently been doing some research um, into Cern, and I guess I wouldn't even so much. I mean, I guess you could call it research. I mean, I'm not going out and finding out any, original information on my own from um, inside sources or anything like that. Uh, a lot of it is, you know, quite a bit over my head. Some of these um, big mathematical equations involved in understanding this stuff is definitely a little over my head. But a lot of the stuff is has some pretty easy and basic scientific principles that are pretty easy to understand. Um, I guess I originally got interested in this stuff um, from, I mean, CERN has always been a concern, um, I guess, a bit in the quote unquote truth movement. Um, I don't really necessarily know if I'm a part of that. I'm definitely not a journalist, but I definitely see that we live in a pretty fucked up world. And it just seems like more and more just crazy and unheard of things keep happening every day. Now, I gotta say, for the most part, it seems like it's just gotten so out of control. Even though that some of these things that are happening are just really preposterous and just totally insane. It takes a lot to shock me, but for some reason, it seems like that every couple of weeks, something does. One of the things that and I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to talk and I'm going to show you a bunch of information that I've just been looking at myself. And I'm going to relate it to some other things that I've talked about a bit in my videos. Um, this, along with, well, a couple of other things, should definitely be one of the most important and most discussed topic on the planet, in my opinion, and it gets very little coverage. And you know, I believe that there's a lot of people um, in the truth movement who are somewhat familiar with CERN. But what really but they don't really know a lot of the ins and outs that I've been looking into here, and I think it's important that everybody know. John B. Wells got me interested. He had a man named Anthony Patch on one of his shows, and I actually ordered one of his books. And I'll be honest, I haven't read a book in a very long time, and I have to say it's one of the most compelling things that I've ever picked up. And I still have a ways to go. But with that said, I decided to watch one of his videos, and I will say that some of um, what Anthony Patch says I think is pretty far out there, but he's definitely on to some pretty crazy information. But anyway, so I decided to do um, a bit of research into CERN myself, and I'm going to relate this to um, other things that I've talked about on my channel before. Um, the one of the things that I've been talking about is is how everything is getting backwards. They want, all these governments want their people to believe that it's okay to let in these Muslim armies who want to just wipe out anybody who's not a Muslim. And they've got like, you know, half the population of almost every major nation on the planet thinking this is a good idea. They've got half the people on the planet believing that it's okay to, that it's better to teach your little boys that they're just broken little girls, that they need to become girls. Or that girls are broken little boys and they just need to attach external parts. You know, they get countries passing laws making it okay to have sex with kids. And if you really, have any kind of, real discernment and paying attention to what's been going on, not just in America, but worldwide, for probably hundreds of years. The entire big portion of the worldwide economic system is completely funded by trafficking people, black market slavery, and drugs. It's a horrible secret that nobody wants to talk about. And things just become more and more twisted every day. I've showed you guys the video of the Vatican, of the room where the Pope speaks from. It's got some very twisted, demented looking, deformed Christ statue in there that weighs like 20 tons or something. And the whole place that he's in looks like it's a serpent, and that he's speaking to the people from the mouth of the serpent in the Vatican. I mean, some of this stuff is absolutely incredible, and it just seems like the more and more you find out, the more biblical that it seems. There's absolutely no denying it. Now, I came across more quite incredible biblical related things when I started looking into Anthony Patch. Now, he gets onto some stuff that I think where maybe he's either I just don't know enough information or he just might be a little nutty. I'm just being fair. Now, he's one of the leading researchers in the field when it comes to Cern, so I mean this man no disrespect. If it wasn't for him, half the information that I have been looking into and learning, I probably wouldn't even have. So, but I started researching the stuff about Cern. And some of the stuff that I came across is pretty incredible. Some of the stuff that he's come across could very well explain quite a few different things on this planet. There's a few of them that I'm going to get into. But the one thing that really struck me when I was reading this is that even now, to this day, off and on, we keep hearing and seeing more and more of these stories and videos about these mysterious booms heard all over the planet. And the one interesting thing I find that's common with all of them is no one seems to have an explanation. It seems to be a big mystery. It seems like a good thing for everybody to report on because it'll go around like wildfire whenever you hear about it, and then it'll just kind of go away again. And I started researching all of this stuff going on at Cern due to my newfound interest thanks to John B. Wells and Anthony Patch. And the information that I came across, you guys can understand. And I think that you guys would find it quite incredible. So, I've got this thing that's been sitting here on the screen for a while. Y'all are going to have to bear with me. This isn't some pre-planned fancy thing that I have queued up for you guys, although I've been meaning to do it for several days now. But I'm going to kind of stumble my way through this, and then you guys will see where I'm getting at. And I think some of these things, like severe weather and mysterious booms, global warming, cancer rates. I mean, there's just a whole big list of stuff on here that I think can be explained just by Cern. So let's just jump into this, and I'll just share with you guys some of this information that I've been coming across, and hopefully you guys will find it as interesting as I am, because hopefully a lot of you are like me, and you've heard a lot about Cern, um, but you don't really know any technical or specific details about it. And I have some technical and specific details that I've got just from looking into it myself that are relatively easy to understand. And I think you guys will really appreciate it. And when you hear about it, I think you might become much more concerned about what's going on with this thing. And just on a side note, as I said, that I find it interesting that one of the key parts of the word is concerned. And we all know what con means. Interesting, don't you think? So what this is talking about here is how Strangelet is a liquid explosive that causes supernovas. It's made with USD quarks. LHC, the Large Hadron Collider, CERN, will do them with 70% of probability according to CERN documents leaked at cerntruth.com. Now they're saying that the most advanced papers on strangelets consider they could start an ice-9 reaction, exploding Earth into a nova, leaving behind a pulsar star. Okay, so this things you may have heard before, but this is serious business. This is not a joke. But what this is saying right here is that CERN makes something called strangelets. And it's also telling you that it's a liquid explosive. Okay, a liquid explosive. And it could also start a supernova, and that it can make them with 70% probability. Now keep in mind, the one thing that you need to understand about CERN, and the one thing that people often seem to overlook, you must not forget, CERN is a military project. Interesting, don't you think? Now here we go. Even before the Earth crunches by strangelets or black holes that do not evaporate, the Large Hadron Collider might be causing earthquakes, as we anticipated years ago, given the fact that it causes a gravomagnetic field, the only one on Earth today. Gravitomagnetic fields are caused by c-speed mass cycles, as the LHC is, and they provoke disturbances on Earth's magnetic fields. When the known recognized cause, which is the known cause of earthquakes. So I know that sounds slightly confusing, but from reading this, and this is something that I think a lot of us can grasp, is this Hadron Collider, this CERN, is this massive structure that is creating a gravitomagnetic field. And the important thing to note here is that this gravitomagnetic field that's being created by CERN actually affects the magnetic field of the Earth. And what is the important function of the electromagnetic field around the Earth? Well, for any of us that have ever seen the movie Core, which is a great movie, by the way, it's the little thing that keeps solar radiation from completely wiping out every living thing on the planet. Now, says 2012 year is in fact was the second number on record of big, greater than 7 Richter scale earthquakes on record after the carpet bombing of World War II. Then, after the machine ended its ion run and the gravitomagnetic sea-speed mass cycle it was creating, earthquakes quickly diminished. So, they've got evidence here that massive earthquakes have become the 7+ ones, more so than they've ever been since they've fired up Cern. And they've also figured out that these things seem to peak and they seem to die off in coordination with the Cern being fired up and being turned off. Okay, so they're looking at some pretty substantial evidence here that a lot of these massive earthquakes that we're seeing all correlate with Cern. Some of these I may have now. The first hint that that Cern is seriously damaging life on Earth, which we predicted in 2007, an increase in earthquake volcanic activities are now facts. So apparently, I think this was written in 2012. And what they were saying is in 2007 is that earthquakes and volcanic activity were going to increase with the firing up of Cern. And it turns out that 5 years later, they were actually correct. This is due to the fact that the Hadron Collider is creating a powerful gravitomagnetic field, a ring of charged massive particles that can interact with the magnetic fields of the magma and Earth's center. Interesting that they said the center, considering that I was just quickly referencing the core. Disturbances on the Earth's magnetic field by the magnets of the Hadron Collider, and specifically the charged positive C speed flow protons, come through 3 different processes. The 27-kilometer continuous ring of charged protons can interact with self-similar charged flows in the magma or Earth's center, creating a powerful electromagnetic field, displacing magma and causing earthquakes and volcanic activity. It is a fact that the first day that the charged proton ring was created in 2008, it caused 4 significant earthquakes, the first one in Iran seconds after it was fired up. The charged proton ring thus acts as a secondary pole to that of the magnetic inner field of the Earth. The creation of different types of strange liquids, some of them already produced in the first experiments, would also provoke explosions in the magma. If stable, those strange forms of matter will leak to the center of the Earth. Some of it will remain in the center. So, they've got documentation that this thing was causing earthquakes in Iran and other places seconds within it powering up. And they're also saying that it creates these things called strangelets, which can go to the center of the Earth and cause explosions in the center of the Earth. Some of it will remain in the center, forming seed of a strangelet. Some will accrete and or explode in the mantle in highly energetic, tidy bombs. This tendency, as all risk, should increase in 2015 when the machine doubles its energy. The Large Hadron Collider is a 27-kilometer ring of positive charged massive particles turning at c speed that is essentially equivalent to the singularity of a Kerr black hole. A rotating c speed ring of mass. Since a Kerr singularity can produce transversal gravitational waves, the LHC might produce perpendicular gravitational waves that will sync straight towards the center of the Earth. In a similar protest, rotating charged coil is used to produce electromagnetic waves. If so, those gravitational waves, which are undetectable, will affect magnetic fields, provoking earthquake waves and increased volcano activity. Thus, each time the machine increases its speed and luminosity mass as Cern powers up the Large Hadron Collider, we should observe an increase in earthquakes and collateral deaths till the two possible doomsday events happen. So, I'm just going to keep going along with this, but hopefully, y'all are like me and you don't really understand all of it. But you do understand that these particles are going to the center of the Earth and they are causing explosions and they are causing interference with the electromagnetic field of the Earth. So this says the baryons once formed will fall to the center of the Earth, accreting matter as they form a growing ball of strange liquid. If they have not enough critical mass to become stable, which will likely happen after 2015's increase in luminosity and potency produces them in mass numbers, those diabaryon will explode in their paths to the center of the Earth, provoking many big bangs in the mantle, which will cause an increase in earthquake activity after the machine switches on. But some might arrive to the center of the Earth, will form a growing ball of ultra-dense strange liquid, which finally will crunch the Earth into a strange star. This is one of the real possibilities that we are facing with Cern right now. As black holes will cool down, transferring heat to the surrounding planet, evaporating us into a cosmic explosion, a nova. And Mr. Hawking and his laws of imaginary time have arbitrarily decided the universe is wrong and that black holes will evaporate. Because apparently what they're trying to do at CERN is they're trying to make mini black holes so they can jump into they want to open the gateway to another dimension. This is a very clear part of their mantra that I'm sure a lot of you have hopefully heard of by now. And the problem is that the universe and its fundamental laws, the laws of entropy, always choose the equation of death or evaporation. Indeed, any ultra-hot object, as a black hole born in the cold environment as the Earth is, according to the laws of entropy, cools down and transfers heat to the environment, evaporating us. And that is what we see in the universe happening. Always, when a black hole is born, it cools down and evaporates its surrounding into a big exploding supernova. Interesting, right? We can shoot you. We have a big cannon and we are going to use it. And you are going through it because we have the gun. Point. This is the paradox explained by Wilson Hawking with the dark humor in those videos. Wilczek says that he signed the release papers because he is wrong and the shot kill us. No, if he is wrong and the shot kills us, nobody will know and laugh. Hawking says that we will become spaghetti if something fails and the public laughs. There you have it. Cern is bullying mankind with this big gun and people like it. Cern is saying, like a cheap character of an Evil Wood fastest action-packed whammy movie, I don't care if you are right or wrong. I don't care for the moral issues. I don't deal with ethics, life, and collateral effects. I have the gun. Stop me if you can. I know you can't. I am the Brahmin, but I have the entire industry of weapons behind me. I am just the maker of newspeaks for the sheeple to join in this absurd war. And I know the routine. For 3,000 years we have been worshiping Shiva, the god of energy, the single arrow of the time motion, lineal manifestation, destinies, and all that. So go through it, because if you don't, you will always lose. If we are alive, you will be ridiculed. If we are dead, that's it. And I know that sounded a little strange, but they're basically saying, hey, we've already got the collider. We're going to keep using it. Nobody's going to stop us. We're well aware that it could kill the planet at any time. But so what? If it happens and everybody's dead, then you still can't do anything about it. That's kind of messed up, guys. I'm trying to make sure I get you all the important information. And the one thing that I wanted you to see from this is it was talking about an Ice 9 situation. And I don't really, I haven't got in this enough to know exactly what Ice 9 is, but basically they're talking about a scenario where the Earth ends up being sucked up by a black hole and going supernova and turning into a pulsar. And it basically says that if they fire this up and they accumulate enough of these strangelets in the center of the Earth, this could very well start happening, and it would basically take several years for it to happen, but you would slowly but surely start seeing its effects. And one thing that they mention here, and I'm not going to get into this, is they keep mentioning these quarks. And it's important to remember these quarks because these quarks are the things that are powering these quantum computers that are made by this company called D-Wave, right? And they're all in conjunction with each other. The D-Wave computers running off of these qubits that are created in the Hadron Collider is actually controlling the Hadron Collider. And it's also important to keep in mind that the whole reason why the internet was created is so the people working on Cern could share information, right? And this is a pretty big deal that could end all life on this planet. And I find it interesting with all this interesting research coming out from Anthony Patch and some other people about what's going on over at CERN, that we're also finding out that every device on the planet that runs any kind of electronics has back doors built into it by the government. This isn't, and it seems to me that this isn't an issue of something they're doing to catch terrorists. It's a multi-platform deal. It's to simultaneously collect information to feed into the quantum computers simultaneously, seeing as it has access to everything on the planet because we're all loaded with preloaded backdoors and malware from the government. But it's also to control information, because if they have a backdoor to every device on the planet, then any information that they want to disappear, they can at will. and surely some of the most crazy and damaging information that they might have out there to hide from the public. Certainly, we have a big chunk of it correlating with Cern. I try to be a realist about situations as much as I can. And one of the things that I've always found rather strange is how every nation on the planet seems to be going broke at the same time. And now it's easy just to assume that this was just orchestrated as a part of Agenda 21 and the New World Order and all of that stuff. And trust me, one of the big reasons I started my channel was for what I found out about Agenda 21. But I try to take a realist approach to things. Even though I've seen a lot of the documentation and all that about Agenda 21, you can't just automatically get caught up in every little conspiracy just because you've seen one become real. And I've often thought that every nation on the planet might be going broke at the same time because they're preparing for something super awful that's going to happen, and they're spending all of their money trying to prepare for this event. And obviously, if something like this was going to happen, then certainly they would want to control all the information on the planet, which means they would put a back door into every electronic device on the planet. And this is exactly what they've done. And so this is just things that I think about. And I'm going to continue on with this information because there's a lot more things in here that I want to get to. But hopefully y'all will find some of what I'm talking about here quite interesting. So let's go ahead and move on to some other stuff here. So we learned yesterday, and this was in August 19th, 2014, that the Hadron Collider is producing a quasi-stable strangelet, an abbreviation for strange liquid, the most explosive substance of the universe made of strange atoms. And it has been doing so without releasing the news since April, in enormous quantities according to the graphs released now on the luminosity dense of masses of strange atoms created. So, one thing that we always hear about in the news is we're going to go to war, there's going to be war, there's going to be nuclear war, nobody wants to get nukes. This strangelet liquid that they're creating at Cern is so incredibly explosive, it powers supernovas. Okay, you're talking, and when you compare that to a missile, right? That's like comparing a pebble to 100,000 machine guns. There's no comparison. This, as far as we know, is the most explosive substance on the planet. And they're making massive, 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 massive amounts of it. And as far as I have seen, just from what I'm looking at so far, I don't see anything divulged anywhere as to what this substance is going to be used for. Because you have to assume that if they're going out of their way to make massive, 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 massive amounts of this stuff, there's a reason. this is just more stuff. This is just more stuff confirming that the earthquakes happen a lot, magnitude 6 plus, whenever they're firing up Cern. There's this little chart right here. In the graph, the length and power of the magnetic field at Cern make it the only macroscopic closed magnetic circuit on the planet that can influence the Earth's magnetic field. I was talking about this earlier in the video, and as you can see here, this thing at Cern can actually influence our electromagnetic field. The ability of the alibi of Cern as that of physicists and corporations is always the same. We are not directly responsible if weapons kill. Never mind, we made them. It's the military. And this is one of the most incredible things that I've come across recently, and I'm surprised that I haven't heard more people talk about this because it's incredible. And what we have here is a little graph depicting this new form of energy that's been discovered at Cern. This is newer than the Higgs Biggs whatever it was they were calling that particular one. But this is a pentaquark. This is 5 quarks that are forming together to form one particular thing. And what they're calling this thing is the Satan particle. Right? You got pentaquark, pentagram, and they're calling it the Satan particle. And the interesting thing about this, and this is what really threw me for a loop, and hopefully it throws you guys for a loop as well, is I was under the impression that what they were doing with all of this research over at Cern was to try to find the quote-unquote God particle. And as it turns out, what they have discovered is actually not the God particle. It is actually the pentaquark, the pentagram of particles, the Satan particle. And they were very specifically looking for the Satan particle, but they weren't disclosing it publicly. Scientists at the Large Hadron Collider B experiment at the Large Hadron Collider just discovered 2 particles made up of not 3, not 4, but 5 quarks, the first observed pentaquarks. Scientists have been searching for this class of particle for 50 years. So they're telling you on TV that they're looking for the God particle. But as you can see right here, they've actually been searching for the Satan particle for about 50 years. The pentaquark is not just any new particle, says Large Hadron Collider B spokesperson Guy Wilkerson of the University of Oxford. Studying its properties may allow us to understand better how ordinary matter, the protons and neutrons from which all are made of, is constituted. It will allow physicists to tune the equations that predict the behavior of all known forms of matter in the universe. This is particularly important for the investigation of new particles and forces. Thus far, the Hadron Collider B researchers have identified the spin, mass, and lifetime of this pentaquark pair, but what they haven't figured out is how the 5 quarks bind together. And it says, for Stone, this discovery shows that fundamental physics research still holds many surprises, some which show up in unexpected places. And this last thing, and this is the last thing that I'm going to get to as far as showing you information is, this last statement I find pretty incredible. It says, we didn't go out looking for a pentaquark. It's a particle that found us. So interesting. They actually came out and said that they spent 50 years looking for the Satan particle, the pentaquark. And what they're telling you is even with all of their research and all of their stuff that they're doing, they actually are saying that somehow this information became known to them and they weren't even looking for it. It was almost like someone or something was like, here's the Satan particle. Very biblical indeed, don't you think, if the people in Cern are in fact looking for the Satan particle. So, now that we've covered all that, let's go back to some of my hypotheses here. And of course, the first one I want to get to is global warming. Now, we have learned we've got this gravitomagnetic field that's derived around Cern. And we also know that this gravitomagnetic field can affect our electromagnetic field. And we've seen stories out there. I know you've seen them from time to time where they'll come out and they'll say that scientists think that our electromagnetic field is failing. And what they're telling you right here from the people who work at Cern themselves, that there's a very good possibility that this large hadron collider is actually the thing that is causing our electromagnetic field to fail. And it's not just by this gravitomagnetic field that's created around the collider itself, but it's also by all of these quarks and all these strangelets are just getting pounded away into the earth. And these things are heavy. These are heavy particles. And not only are they heavy particles, one of the things that I found in my research, and I believe this was from reading Anthony Patch's book. It's actually got 4 different authors doing 4 different sections of the book called Revising Reality. And these things are heavy particles that automatically sink to the center of the earth. And they're pumping out just crazy amounts of these things into the center of the earth. And they're telling everybody that these things are perfectly safe. And what I've just showed you is these things are going all over towards the center of the earth, and they're actually causing explosions and shifts in the plates and earthquakes and volcanic activity. Because these strangelets are the most explosive substance in the universe. And not only that, but these strangelets actually attract matter. They actually attract matter. Now, for my little basic, minute understanding of science, I would assume that this would have something to do with the way, or of the beginning of the creation of a black hole. Now, keep in mind, our electromagnetic field around the Earth that protects us from solar radiation and, the sun itself is actually controlled, theoretically, by the center of the planet. And the theory that pretty much everybody agrees upon is we've got this big, giant, massive steel ball in the center of the Earth, spinning at super high speeds, surrounded by lava that's actually creating this electromagnetic sphere that actually protects us from solar radiation and actually allows life to thrive on this planet. And as we've seen from the movie Core, which I'm not using as scientific basis, I'm just using as common sense basis here, throw a little wrench to a big engine, and it's pretty easy to make that engine stop. So, if this thing is actually affecting the electromagnetic field that goes around the Earth, this would explain cancer rates. This would explain diseases in the bees. This would explain populations and species of various organisms going extinct. This would explain global warming and the food crisis of crops just not growing as much because of growing temperatures. Now, I'm still on the fence about this global warming thing, but what I'm showing here is that if it is, in fact, global warming is, in fact, a serious issue, that it very well could be something caused by Cern, causing our electromagnetic field to fail, not only by the gravito-magnetic field that it creates around itself, but due to the quarks and the strangelets that are just collecting and collecting in the center of the Earth, causing explosions and collecting matter to it at the same time. That doesn't sound like a very good recipe. And so, in closing, the thing that I wanted to say was this, to me, makes the most logical sense for all the stories that we're seeing about these mysterious booms. They all seem to think that they're coming from, the explosions are coming from underground somewhere. They've had several instances where people managed to show their house shaking and cracks in the foundation of their home while these mysterious booms were actually happening. And of course, so if we do have explosions going on, even around the mantle, or below the crust, it could be all the way to the core. We don't know, but as we know, these strangelets, which is the most explosive thing on the planet, is probably sitting underground, causing explosions, causing earthquakes, and causing plates and stuff to sink around. And this would also explain sinkholes. This stuff could be disappearing from the bottom because matter is being sucked in by these strangelets, and plus these explosions are creating caverns all over the Earth, causing these sinkholes to appear everywhere. So I find it interesting, and I just wanted to point out some of this information that I've come across about CERN. This is really some disturbing information, you guys. But this could very well explain global warming. This could explain cancer. This could explain food crisis. This could explain a species going extinct. This would explain the stories about the electromagnetic sphere failing. This could explain sinkholes. And last but not least, this could very easily, without a shadow of a doubt, explain all of these mysterious booms. Hopefully you guys will find this little bit of information that I shared in this video helpful, and hopefully you guys will actually go out and do a bit more research onto it for yourself. I definitely think this Satan particle is something worth digging into a little more, and when I'm going to continue to keep researching this subject. I'm going to read more books. I'm going to keep watching more videos. And as I get more information about this stuff, I'll try to bring it to you guys in a pretty common man's understanding, like I have, and try to present it to you guys in the same way. So anyways, that's all I got. You guys take care, and I will talk to y'all again soon.